Hello, and welcome to City of Cards Turn 6. I am pre-recording this one for you guys, so not able to respond to you in the normal sense. And I hope everything goes according to plan. I'm pretty confident in this. So let us start, as we always do, by rolling the initiative and seeing who goes first. Now, Red Coast rolled a 3, that will bring you pretty low. The Patriots rolled an 8, that brings them up pretty high. The group rolled a 4, above the Red Coast, but still on the lower end. Custodian 7, double checking. Did the Custodians add their +1? They sure did. So that is behind the Patriots. Then we have the Knights having to roll against the Patriots at 8. And Gemini League is at number 5, so above the group. So we have one roll off between the two. Then we are going to roll 2d6, and that is going to be the Patriots on the left and the Knights on the right. 5, 6. The Knights go first. Knights all the way at the top, going well and truly ahead of everyone else. Whereas for the NPCs, we have the Boston Camarilla at 9 up there. We have First Light at 2 at the bottom. And we have the Society of St. Leopold also at 9. So we're going to need another roll off. So that is 2d6s. And that is the Boston Camarilla going first. Well and truly in the lead. Now that we got initiative rolled out, I feel like my mind has opened up to reflection upon last turn. Things have happened in terms of the combat zone falling under investigation by the SI after the Knights murdered an agent over there. No big deal. No big deal at all. I'm sure everyone will be all over it. The kindred of Boston are going to bind together and resolve this matter. Speaking of binding together, they are assisting each other. Quite a few assists this turn. So we got to reference this relationship status between all the factions and apply the necessary assists, starting with the Gemini League are assisting the group and giving them +1 coin. So let us edit that there. Is that correct? That said -1. That should not be -1. We want 1. There we go. That is +1 on the group and the Gemini League's status. And they are giving them 1 coin in this assist. How lovely. A lovely little gift being provided by the Gemini League to the group. Now, the other assist is 2 assists by 1 faction. Quite crazy. They are spending an entire turn dedicated to the assist of the Boston Camarilla. And that is coming from the Knights. So the Knights are providing the Boston Camarilla with 2 assists this turn, increasing their status up to 2. Now that is one of their actions is +1 die, and the other of their action is a coin, very similar to the Gemini League in the group. An additional coin to the Boston Camarilla. There we go. So, seeing that the Knights are the first on the table, let us move on to their actions and read their lovely little narrative that they have provided. Oh, after we do their passives, so I do not forget. So that is 1 XP, 1 coin, and -1 contempt. They are at 0 contempt. Now, their narrative. The Knights are seen amassed this month. Noticeable by the livery on their cars and motorcycles, bearing coats of arms on every hood, under glow matching Pancosta raspberry, Capulet orange or Arthurian blue. These vehicles are seen on any street corner where the Camarilla visits, though to all of the kindred society, these are the most obvious kindred that walk these nights. No reports ever go further than suspected gang activity in the area. This month, every meeting is preempted, every location swept, every discerner forced into line, every bill footed, and everything that even looks like a threat is killed before a Camarilla representative is within a mile on the location. No matter your opinion of this lot, what they are willing to do for our society is invaluable. A report by Clan Nosferatu. Intriguing, you say. Interesting. Now, they have gained their resources. They have performed their assists, which means we jump straight to entanglements. Oh, and they gain the tick in their Jewel of King and Queen's faction ability clock. Now, they roll entanglements, that is 0 to 3 contempt because they have 0 contempt, and they gain 1 contempt. One of the quickest turns we may have done ever in this game. Impressive feat by the Knights. Now we move on to the Patriots. Fast and loose we're going, getting this done. Now, the Patriots gain 1 rep as their passives, and their narrative is thusly. Predictably, kindred in Boston have either been complacent or emboldened by the tabling of the last bill. While the common rabble celebrate the minor victory afforded to them, the Inquisition closed in. Whether such had happened as a matter of acceptable loss or an artful display of strategy, one may never find out, for the Knights were nothing if not masterful disruptors. Following the example of brazen crusaders, the Patriots made their own push in compromised areas of Boston, mending towers in the masquerade and shaking down what minor coteries would contribute to the security of the city writ large. Many young kindred will be reminded that the price for freedom should be paid, if not by discretion and vigilance, then by blood and bones. Yes, their first action is to resolve the event at the Massachusetts General Hospital. Let us have a nosy at that event there and see what that is all about. Yes, this is a masquerade breach occurring in this domain requiring a mental roll to resolve. The first light is present on the scene, and if resolved, this event will yield 1 coin and 2 XP. There we go. So, because of the on-hand fixers, the Patriots roll physical instead of mental, because let me bring that up. Clicking buttons. When you perform the resolve event action targeting a masquerade breach event, always roll physical and gain +1 rep. And that, the flavor behind that, let's have a little nosy, because we don't always get to see these in action. The negligence and recklessness of one will affect all if not dealt with swiftly, and the Patriots have become explicitly proficient at cleaning up the messes of others. Yes, they gain 1 rep and they use their physical stat when resolving masquerade breach events. So let's see how they do on this roll. That is a crit. Wow. Okay, that's impressive. Let us see what a crit does when you resolve an event. Yes, you get the reward, no contempt, and an additional XP. Hot diggity dang. So, that is, let us double check, 1 coin, 3 XP, and 1 rep because of the faction ability. Wow. 3 XP? Yeah, 3 XP because of the crit. 1, 2, 3, and 1 coin? 1 coin. impressive stuff by the first action of the Patriots. Their second action then is to resolve the event at the Rockland Trust Bank. Now I'm going to mark this event here so it does not get the scrutiny added at the end of the turn, and go over to the Rockland Trust to see a kind politics event requiring another physical roll. The first light is also here, and if it's resolved, it will yield a minor boon. Intriguing. Intriguing. The minor boon would enable you to do a resolve event or remove claim action. Fascinating. Now, they are going to roll physical once more. Let us see how well they do in this roll. That is a 4. So I believe that is 1 heat. Not heat. Contempt. Heat would be a different game. 1 contempt. That's 1 contempt. And the reward, which is a minor boon. Now I am going to quickly copy and paste that into the notes onto the Discord, and then I will be editing them once this turn goes live. There we go. Because you guys in the present, my present, in the past, for you guys, don't know what's happened yet, so I can't edit your sheet until come Sunday. Now, very well done. Oh, and I've just recalled, because the Patriots have a faction objective, keeping the veil, for our resolving, I believe it's resolving 12 events or 10 events, 10 masquerade events, and they've resolved one already, and they've resolved another one this turn, so that's another tick. Because if we go to their faction objective over here, yeah, resolve a total of 10 masquerade events, so that's a tick towards a step in the right direction. Now let us see I'm just double checking their previous faction sheet. Yep, they gained the 1 contempt. That means they are in the 4 to 5 bracket for entanglements. They gained their things. I am checking to see if I've missed. I don't think so. No, I've not. Yes, their entanglements is now. Entanglements for 4 to 5 contempt. Pay shunned level coin to the lowest status faction, or -1 status with that faction. Well, very good thing that you gained that coin, because that is going to... Who is your lowest status faction? I've removed the thing at the thing. It is the group. I wonder what you had to do to give the group money here. So there's a coin to the group. I'm sure the group will be very pleased with your payment of something. And we move on to the custodians, who gain 1 coin and 1 XP. They have no narrative for me to read out, but their first action is to disrupt investigations with the Society of St. Leopold in the Garment District, where the scrutiny goes to the branch library. Okay. Yes. The very first investigation we had this game, and the custodians have been very vigilant in disrupting these investigations, making sure that the Society of St. Leopold doesn't acquire it. So they are at halfway there. We will see how well they disrupt it. I think that is a tier roll, if I am not mistaken. Scrolling to here, finding out. Yes, it is a tier roll. So they rolled here. We will find out. That is a 5, which means they remove 1 tick and they gain 1 scrutiny. So that is 1 scrutiny going onto the branch library, which is a smart choice considering it's their lowest current standing of scrutiny, I believe. And 1 tick is removed from the Garment District investigation clock, which I believe prevents the Society of St. Leopold from finishing that clock this turn. The Custodians, ever vigilant, as their name may suggest. Now, their second action is to claim the SES Burying Ground. The South End South Burying Grounds. Indeed. Another initiative gaining domain if they can secure it, interestingly enough. They're getting a hold of all the courier drop-off points. Intriguing. Now, deft arguments and rightful claims. When you perform the claim domain action, you may roll social instead of tier, which means they will be rolling 2 dice for this action. And we shall see. Oh, yes. I'm glad I remembered. They are also spending 2 coin for a bonus die. So that is a bonus die. So that is 3 coin for this action. And that is a 6. And that is all they needed. So that is 2 coins spent. All they needed to secure the Burying Grounds. And the Burying Grounds falls under the purview of the Custodians. Another domain added to the Custodians' expanding control of Boston. Intriguing, intriguing. There we go. Now, we move on to entanglements, and the Custodians are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in contempt, which means they lose 1 coin or lose sway over a primogen, which they do not have sway over any primogen, I do not believe. No, all the primogen are unswayed, which means we use contempt 4/6, rule 6 entanglement if not applicable. So let us scroll down to that and see which is that. Entanglements. Contempt 4/6, rule 6, pay 1 coin, pay shunned level coin to the lowest status faction, or lose one status with that faction. There's a lot of paying people off. Do we have the coin to do that, Custodians? We do. Good thing. And let us see who you are paying. Oh. Okay, so it's a roll-off between the Redcoats and the Gemini League. So, that will be... I'm going to say evens Redcoats, odds Gemini League. Evens Redcoats, odds Gemini League. Odd Gemini League. That's correct. -1, -1, 0 elsewhere. Okay. Ooh, I closed the Custodians thing. So let's open up again. I've already removed their coin. Good on me. We'll move them over and we're going to the Gemini League and giving them a coin. Gifted to them by the Custodians for some reason or another. I wonder what that's all about. Now, we move on to the Gemini League next. Very well. How convenient for me to open up their faction sheet next. Now, they gain 1 XP and 1 coin that doesn't go anywhere because their vault is full, thanks to the Custodians. And their first action has a little bit of narrative tied to it. Action 1. The group has proven helpful during these nights. We should reward them with a meaningful gift. Money, which they did at the start of this term with their assists, which was how lovely of them. Yes, a burgeoning relationship is forming, it appears, between the group and the Gemini League. Very intriguing. However, their second action, the giggle is up. This curse must be chuckled out the window. We will not cackle, but leave the necromancer's last gift in stitches for the kindred of Boston and New England. A lot of puns there, because they are dealing with their faction objective long-term project. Now, if we go over to their faction objectives in here to get a little bit of a better idea. To our dear dead friends, behind closed doors, while stakes were plunged into flesh between sects, the necromancers and the League enjoyed a mutually beneficial arrangement, trading knowledge, secrets, and artifacts alike. It is true that when the Milliners openly joined the Six-Day War, that the Gemini League did put a little distance between them and their acquaintances, but positive relationships were still maintained, and when the time came for the KOL's advance into Boston, quietly and out of sight of others, the League helped their Hecata friends flee and survive an overnight. However, the Hecata's evacuation was hasty, and what they were forced to leave behind is unknown. The Giovanni building, their once headquarters, is developing unwanted attention. If the wrong eyes were to look close enough, it could threaten the masquerade, or worse, expose our past dealings with our secret friends. We must walk a tightrope, focus our fellow kindreds on this strange curse of the Giovanni building, and find a means to resolve the bizarre symptoms, whilst of course simultaneously gathering any unsavory evidence and securing all possible occult treasures that could have been left behind. I apologize if you hear music from the room next to me. They are playing very loudly. Yes. So when you control the Giovanni building domain, complete a 10-tick long-term project clock and roll mental. And they are starting that because they have claimed the Giovanni building. Last turn they prevented it from absolutely tumbling into SI investigation. And now they can actually begin the process of working on their long-term project. They roll mental. They're spending 2 coin for a bonus die, which means they will be rolling 3 in total. Fortune roll. 1 bonus die. And that is a 4, which means they gain 2 ticks on this clock, and they are a 5th of the way there. There we go. Now, for those of you unsure what the Gemini League are referring to with all the puns in their action narrative this turn, I advise you guys take a peek at No Laughing Matter scene over on the Discord. As the Gemini League? Yes, as the Gemini League are investigating the Giovanni building and discover interesting findings that they now have to deal with. Now, their entanglements, they are at 2, 4, 6 contempt, which means they are in the 6+ contempt entanglements bracket. They gain 2 contempt and a 1 harm to a cohort. They don't have any cohort, but they are now 1 contempt away from shunned. Man, the general kindred populace are not fans of the Gemini League, that is for sure. But we move on to the group, who get -1 contempt, and their action narrative goeth thusly. The Congress is not enough. nor is the added responsibilities of cleaning the knight's messes, nor is polishing Humphrey's tarnished name, nor it's the Patriots' meetings, nor is it Basil's dramatic competition, nor is it the Giovanni building. The group is meant for loftier things, perhaps looking across the city from 61 floors up and into the eyes of Prince Iverson will be enough. They also have another passive, the Deer Island Water Treatment Plant, that grants them 1 tick to a long-term project per turn, and that is going into their Upgrade Gibson house. And their first action is indeed to perform a claim domain action onto the Hancock Tower over here. An interesting building with a very tumultuous history. I advise you to have a little look into it if you ever get the chance. They don't have it as an existing clock, so that is a new claim Hancock Tower. Claim domain action, which is 4 ticks because it's right next to them. And they are rolling tier. And they get no bonus dice because they're not spending any coin. They do have the coin, but they're not spending it, nor are they gaining any assist. And that is a 3, so that is 1 tick forward. Their second action is to be an anticipate needs action, which is reduce scrutiny and disrupt investigation. Let's see how strong this boon that they are creating is going to be. It is a 5, which means if we look at the rule book, it results in creating a minor boon, which is 2 dice if spent to perform a bonus action. There we go, a minor boon in the group's boon book. Now we're going to roll for entanglements. We're talking 2 contempt, which is in the 0 to 3 bracket, and they gain 1 contempt. There we go. And that is the group's actions. We move on to the Redcoats, and we see what they are up to this time round. Following the loud and arguably disastrous events of the Knights, the Redcoats have one single prerogative. Sir Maurice writes detailed letters, reports, essays, calls all the kindred contacts he knows, calls upon the Ivory Tower for action, pulls upon all his social weight gathered from years of careful deliberations to drag the knight's name and reputation through the mud. This action was reckless, dangerous, and should never be repeated. This action is sole evidence of how the knights are too reckless to be allowed into positions of power. If any kindred should know about the dangers of the Second Inquisition, it would be Sir Maurice, descendant of Biltmore, and all too aware of the horrors inflicted in his home city that he can now never return to. Their passives means that the Redcoats gain 1 coin. Fiery words from the Redcoats indeed. Their first action being an action we haven't seen yet in this game. Humiliate rival. And they are targeting the Knights for 2 rep. Now, because we haven't seen this action performed before, let us have a look at the rulebook and see what this is all about. Humiliate rival. Roll physical. Steal resources from a targeted rival faction. An acting faction gains contempt and XP on their faction sheet by the result. If it's a critical, they get the resources that they select, or 2 XP. If it's 6 resources, 2 XP, 1 contempt. 4 to 5 resources, 1 XP, 2 contempt. 1 to 3 XP, 1 XP, resources, 3 contempt. acting faction selects one of the options below they would like to steal from the target faction: 2 rep, 2 coin, or 1 coin and 1 rep respectively. The selected resources are removed from the target faction's sheet. This action can only target rival factions, and does not affect status. What are rival factions, you may ask? Now, when 2 factions are at -2, -3, or -4 status with one another, they are considered to be rivals. Rivals may perform resolve events actions on rivals' domain without having to pay 1 coin to avoid status loss, and rivals are enabled to perform the humiliate rival action, targeting only their rivals. But keen-eyed of you will note that the Knights and the Redcoats are in fact not at -2, -3, or -4 status. Thus, they are still performing this action. Well, that is because the Redcoats have a faction ability known as Proactive Espionage. In 2014, the Six-State War ended for the Kindred of Liberty, but for the Redcoats, the only thing that changed was their military doctrine. Boston was not ready for another open war, so the Redcoats would adapt to Sir Morris's strategy, a doctrine of his own creation named Proactive Espionage. The Redcoats know their existence is mostly unwanted in the city of Boston, and as such, every kind word, smile, and promise bears as much weight as the knife poised against their back. To the Redcoats, allies are preferable, but if one cannot be loved, they will most certainly settle for being feared. The Redcoats consider factions at status 0 and -1 as their rivals, but those factions do not consider them, the Redcoats, as a rival faction. Yes, this is a representation of how the Redcoats are a lot more willing to go and, as the faction ability suggests, be a lot more proactive in their espionage and soft aggression against the other factions of Boston. Now, that means we are going to be performing the humiliate rival action against the Knights, which means we roll physical. I believe physical might be their lowest of dice. It is. Let us see. Let me check. I'm just checking to see if they are adding any bonuses. They are not. Do. Humiliate rival. No bonus dice. And that is a 3. Okay. Which means they gain 1 XP and 3 contempt for their action. So that is 1 XP and 3 contempt. But they also, because they selected to remove 2 rep, we go to the Knights' sheet, we remove 2 rep, and we add 2 rep in return. Basically, one of the things about the humiliate rivals action is to enable factions to make little pokes at one another without having to decrease status if they were to, say, hunt on another faction's sheet or remove a turf or remove a domain. I'm filled with a lot of old school terms for these things. And the Redcoats, as their Public Enemy #1-esque vibe that they have in Boston, have the ability to use their reputation almost as a shield to kind of do jabs at other factions. So that is their first action. And their second action is to claim domain of the South Station. Now, I believe that is, yes, 2 distance away, which means it's 5 ticks. South Station is a very valuable domain, it now allows easier access to the rest of the city. So we are going to do that because it is a 5-tick clock. South Station. Claim domain. And then you're going to roll tier. We are going to see that is a 1. That is 1 tick. Not the cleanest of actions, but still quite beneficial results in terms of the rep gain and the XP and the impact of an opponent's rep. We shall see how that plays out on the bigger board. But for now, let us check what is the Redcoats entanglements. They are at Contempt 5, so they're in the 4/5 Contempt entanglements bracket. They have to pay 1 coin to their lowest status faction or lose -1 with that faction. A lot of paying coin. They do have the coin to pay. I think that means they pay it to the custodians. Yes, to the custodians, who was at -1. So the custodians gain their coin that they lost to the Gemini League as they take it from the Redcoats. Coins just jumping all over the place between hands. Crazy stuff. Now, that is the Redcoats done, and we move on to the Boston Camarilla, who have gained a lot of assists from the Knights. I wonder what that's all about. And 2 XP and 1 coin from their passes. Now, a bit of a lengthy narrative for their actions this turn. Let us have a read. Shortly into the new year, a report made by a kindred citizen local to the Long Wharf area was flagged and sent up the chain in the Camarilla. Rumour has it that this neonate had witnessed Kira Breyer, Boston's very own La Sombra, attack a mortal in an alleyway late into the night. Of course, the death of a mortal is no blip on the Boston Camarilla's radar. What is, however, is the shadowy weapons this neonate reported was being used. A breach in the Prince's La Sombra resolution of 2019 would be significant indeed. Thus, the claim was investigated thoroughly at Long Wharf. The fact that Kira has not been summoned and publicly scolded, if not beheaded, as a result of the investigation, has speculators assuming no real evidence of the Oblivion discipline was used, having been used, has been fined. Sorry that. If this wasn't enough to inspire heated gossip, both Toreadors and Nosferatu alike have it on good authority that the Knights were present throughout the investigations, acting as the muscle on behalf of the Camarilla's investigator. An official statement from the Boston Camarilla is still being waited on, but already there are kindred loudly criticising these actions, that the Prince is all but outright endorsing the Knights' heedless act in Chinatown last month by utilising them in this official capacity. Whilst others argue in the BC's defence that to overtly discipline the Knights would only provoke them into unpredictable action, that the Prince is keeping the Knights close and busy while simultaneously employing them to ensure that the La Sombra are staying in line. Now, they are resolving the event at Long Wharf, which is a decree enforcement event. I believe that is correct, which requires a social role. No one is present on the scene, but if resolved, this event will yield 3 rep. Now, the Camarilla have 2 in social, and they will be gaining +1 from the assist provided by the Knights. And also, this is, in fact, on Redcoat's domain. This is another faction performing and resolving an event on another faction's domain. And you, eagle-eyed rule knowers, will note that if an event is on another faction's domain and you resolve it, you must choose between paying 1 coin to the owner of the domain or change the status with that faction by 1, unless they are your ally or rival. Now, first things first, let's roll to see how well they do. That is a 5, which means they generate 1 contempt, and they gain the 3 rep granted to them by this event. We shall remove the event tag so we don't add scrutiny. And I will check my notes for the Boston Camera action, and they are not spending the coin to maintain status. And thus, the status between the Boston Camarilla and the Redcoats get reduced by 1 to -1. So, I believe one could interpret that as the Boston Camarilla basically going, we're the government, we are investigating a report, and the Redcoats perhaps upset that one of their own are being investigated and have a baseless accusation being made, with no evidence having been found and no tribute being given to the domain holders. This is outlandish. Something along that, I'm sure, is being written in another articulated letter by Sir Morris, perhaps. Now, for the Boston Camarilla, they are in the 4 contempt bracket, which means 4/5 entanglement contempt bracket, and they gain 2 contempt. Maybe their actions involving the Knights in this, perhaps infringement on Redcoat's domain, is sparking up more contempt than maybe is desired. Intriguing stuff. Now, the Society of St. Leopold, who have had their investigations thoroughly disrupted by the custodians, are performing their action to perform the investigation action, which is a mental roll. But even no matter what they roll, because they're not rolling 2 dice and they can't crit, no matter what they roll, 4 means they get 2 ticks. The timer ticks up, and they haven't been able to finish the clock in time. Ooh, that deleted the wrong one. That's meant to be one. There we go. So, the investigation status of the Garment District is removed, and it returns to unclaimed, as I'm sure everyone will be relieved, thanks to very vigorous work done by the custodians and the support of the Patriots. It is good to put credit where it is due. The Garment District has not fallen into the hands of the Society of St. Leopold, but we still got to roll their entanglements anyhow, because we are at 4 entanglements. 4 entanglements. Okay, intriguing. This version of entanglements is rampant in this turn. Now, they got to pay Shun Coined level +1, which they do not have because they are Shun 4, to the lowest satisfaction or -1 with that faction. Now, I don't think there is a -1 between any of the Society of St. Leopold. But they do have 3 with the First Light, so it can't be First Light. So any of the Kindred factions are up for grabs here. And that is a D7 needed. So I am going to roll a D7, and we're going to go clockwise in terms of progression of numbers. So that is 1 for Redcoats, 2 for Patriots, 3 for Group, 4 for Custodians, 5 for the Knights, 6 for the Gemini League, and 7 for the Boston Camarilla. Now we are going to quickly set this up to be able to roll, because I have R1D7, and that is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the Gemini League that has lost a status with the Society of St. Leopold. Intriguing. Most intriguing. Now, we move on to the final faction to perform actions this turn, and that is First Light, who don't gain anything because they have nothing to gain. And I'm going to check my notes and see what it is that they are doing. And yes, they are performing. Oh, this runs out in this case thing. But they are performing an investigation action on the combat zone, which is the newly introduced. I suppose I removed the thing technically too early because the First Lights, but it's the same result. They are performing an investigation action on the combat zone. Now, that is a mental roll. It is a 6-tick clock. Investigation. I don't think I spelled that right. I'm just going to cheat and copy and paste this. And they are going to roll mental, which they have 2, whereas the Society of St. Leopold only have 1. We shall see how much the First Light progress. Only 1 tick. Not great, but progress is made nonetheless. They have no contempt, as opposed to the Society of St. Leopold. So we are talking about the contempt entanglement bracket of 0 to 3. Let us see what the First Lights. Again! Pay shunned level to the highest status faction, or -1 status with that faction. Well, they don't have the shunned level with their in coin, which is 4 + 1, 5 coin. They only have 2 coin, which means they lose status with their highest status faction, which means this little budding relationship, this allyship between the First Light and Society of St. Leopold goes down. There's been a disagreement between the First Light and... no, all the way down to minus. Not all the way down to -1, just down to 2. But there's been a disagreement between the Society of St. Leopold and First Light, it appears. I wonder what's going on there. Maybe splitting interests? Alternative pressing matters? Conflicting desires to do things? I don't know. We'll have to speculate. But that brings us to a close on all the faction actions. But that doesn't bring us to the end of everything quite yet, because I have a boon transfer to announce. Because the group, who were the offering party, is transferring a boon to the Redcoats, who were the acting party, this turn. I'm sure you can speculate that as you may. I also have to announce to you the events this turn, which is a kind politics event in Charlie's Sandwich Shoppe. Shoppe? Or is it shop? Don't know how you pronounce that. A kindred politics event at Pro Courier. Not a kindred politics, kind politics, kind as in mortal. A kind politics event at Red Salon. A decree enforcement event at the Seaport Hotel, and a cult curiosity at Fort Banks, another kind politics event in Long Wharf, a kind politics event at the SOA Power Station, and a cult curiosity at Trinity Church, and another occult curiosity at South Station. And one final thing is the bill that I need to announce coming up in the spring Congress session that is happening in March. I want to say the scene will start on the 1st of March and the vote needs to have occurred by the 25th. But let me read the narrative, then reveal the bill, I think. Just for a little bit of fun. With Second Inquisition activity skyrocketing in the combat zone as a result of the murder of a First Light agent in the combat zone by the Knights, and the years of heedless kindred indulgence leading up to that, the combat zone has been locked down in much the same manner as the Garment District had been a few months ago. But where the Garment District was relatively small in the realm of risk, the combat zone murder threatens to be a far greater danger. To prevent the SI from expanding its investigation, Prince Hazel Iverson has put forward her desire to quarantine the entire Chinatown neighborhood of kindred activity until the SI has moved on. Primogen Underwood of Clan Ventru and Primogen McAndrews of Clan Toreador have already declared their objection, stating this is a grave overreaction, whereas Primogen Jara of Clan Nosferatu has aligned herself with the prince, arguing that this quarantine is entirely necessary. Because of the impact such a decree will have on the city, Prince Iverson has put this matter onto the floor for a vote for the Primogen and the Congress when they meet in the spring. And in the meantime, will devote resources to disrupting the SI investigation into the combat zone where it can. So, the Spring 2025 Advisory Bill, China Quarantine, if passed, will have all Chinatown domains gain -2 scrutiny. Until the next congressional turn, all player factions, when performing actions targeting any Chinatown domain, gain +2 contempt, but may add 1 tick to the targeted clock, if there's a targeted clock in the action, because some actions don't have clocks. And all factions will gain +1 contempt. But if the bill is tabled, 2 ticks will be added to the First Light's investigation clock targeting the combat zone domain. Until the next congressional turn, all player factions when performing actions targeting the Chinatown domains will gain 2 XP and 2 rep per the action targeting the domain. So if there's 2 actions performed in 1 turn targeting Chinatown domains each, this effect will happen twice. And all heedless aligned factions, be it leaning or committed, will gain 1 XP. To vote in favour of this bill would be prudent aligned, and to vote against this bill would be heedless aligned. And with that, I appreciate your quick response, as I had a little need to bring the recording of this forward. I hope this has been exciting for you, and I look forward to seeing you all discuss and play out the resulting aftermath of this turn. Have a wonderful end to your January, and I will see you in the Discord.